good stuff.
Pretty much. So start with your first full name.
My first full name is Robert Roy Dudley.
Robert Roy Dudley.
Yes, yes.
And what branch of service were you in?
U.S. Air Force.
And what were the dates of your service?
Okay, December 11th, 1968 to December 11th, 1972.
Were you drafted or did you enlist?
I was enlisted
Why did you join?
because I wanted to, I was going to get drafted and I wanted to go into either Navy or Air Force, so I had a good bed and good meals. I didn't want to be out in the boonies, and I wanted to come back.
Why did you pick the service you joined?
Because of, I liked the Air Force, and I guess it was the only thing that I didn't try the Navy, but I think they was filled up at the time, so I got into the enlistment program in the Air Force. But I was signed up actually 180 days before I got in, so that time counted later.
How old were you? How old were you when you joined?
I went in when I was 22.
22. Do you recall your first days in service?
Yes, I do recall my first day. It was not fun. No.
Not fun?
Not at all.
You want to talk about it?
Okay. Our first day in the service, we arrived at Lackland Air Force Base probably 2 or 3 in the morning, and there was what they call a DI. I think we discussed this. I think they're also called drill instructor was there waiting for us. Right away started hollering at us, took us to our barracks, and told us all these stories that was going to happen, and what if you didn't do this or do that, what was going to happen. And we got there about 4 o'clock in the morning, and then we went to chow the first time. We had good food though.
Yeah?
Real good
Even
food.
on the first day?
Well, even on the first day we had good food, but we never slept that whole first day. After chow, we came back, and they ran us all day through all these buildings and cut our hair off. And my hair was already short, so I was lucky. The guys really enjoyed cutting our hair off. Guys with long hair. Then we got clothes thrown at us, just like we go through these lines, and they just throw it at us. And everything in the service is hurry, hurry up, hurry up. And so you didn't have time to do anything. I think the day went on and on and on forever. And then we'd had, I think we even had some shots that day too in our arms too.
Yeah.
I think we did.
How long were you up on the first day?
Oh, all day long. All day long. We just run from one place to another, and we finally got done. We got assigned to our barracks. We got that done right off the bat. We went back to our barracks, and then we had to get our blocker set up and our bed made and everything. Everything had to be done before lights out at 9 o'clock. And then the next day started. Things rolling. Lights on at 5 in the morning. And then they got you out and they started, learning how to march and things like that right off the bat. So they kept you busy, really busy. And it made you feel about this big. Yeah.
Didn't you say the other day that your bed had to be
really good?
And
really good. Had the hospital corners, and sometimes you just slept on top of it because you didn't want to get it all messed up or make it again. And then we had to keep the restrooms really, really clean, so we just had to just use just a minimum amount of sink space or whatever, so that we could keep everything else clean, for inspection. We never knew when they were going to inspect us, and if you got another thing that I didn't say the other day, that if they found tags in your clothes, that was another. They would really, really get on you about having tags in your clothes. And they'd make you do maybe 20 push-ups, or make you do KP and different stuff, or write stuff on the board. I had a tag I didn't take out for about 100 times. It's like things we used to do in the school. Only this was in Lackland Air Force Base, where I took basic training.
What type of work did you perform while in the service?
Okay, I did different jobs in the service. I did, of course, I was assigned to a security police right after basic, but I was first assigned to Minot Air Force Base, Minot, North Dakota, and I worked in the missile sites. And I went along with the guys in missile crews and I had a code I had to use to open up the site, and he had a code, so we had both do this code in order to get down to the missile sites.
And very few people knew this code?
No, so you got a new code every time you went out, so.
Really?
So they changed them around all the time, that way they could duplicate it. And he had different code than I had, and I can't remember for sure how they did it, but they just give you a slip of paper with a code on it, and you couldn't, of course, say it, but it was right there, and you had to, just like a safe, you had to dial this way, dial that way, finally get the door open. And it was quiet, and sometimes I went out for 3 days in a missile site, and rode out on a helicopter. So I did have a helicopter ride, and then they set you up there for 3 days, and you patrol, you kind of protect the missile sites. You'd have jeeps to go out there and drive around and make sure they were secure and stuff. So it was interesting. That was of course in Minot, and then of course I got assigned to Vietnam a year after I was in Minot a year. Following December, I got my orders to Vietnam, Van Rang, Vietnam, and then so I was only in Minot 1 year, and then of course I had to go training for that. Had to go in February back to Lackland, and then I went on over to Vietnam the 26th of March of 1970, and I was over there for one entire year, March 26th of 71. And the different jobs I had over there was, of course, I did work the towers for a little bit. And you want me to show some pictures of that now when I'm talking about it?
Yes, please.
Okay, and I don't know if I had too many pictures of mine on. Otherwise, I could show you some pictures. But I don't think I have any pictures of the. I got some real good. I think pictures of. This one here. Tower one. I think I do have a tower one. This is kind of thing that I did. There was up on a tower with a 50 caliber. We had to shoot on the corners, and this was kind of a guard tower right there too. You might want to. I don't know if you can scan that later or whatever. That's kind of that's kind of a picture of one of the towers, and.
And who would make these towers? Just
the people on base, like the guys. We would do things like that. When we wasn't guard duty or whatever, we'd build towers. I don't know if I got another picture of a tower. I think that might be it. There several small. These are all small pictures. And also duties that I did do in Pan Rang was I was a squadron carpenter, and I did different things. I built. And I also, I think that's all. Well, I can back up a little bit. There about a week or so, I applied for squadron carpenter, and I got the job. So here's a better picture of the towers on the corners. You find clear up there, and you shoot that 50 caliber gun about once an hour. And here's a machine gun. There's the M60 right here. That's me.
And how many men and how long would it take to make these towers?
Oh wow, it took a long time. I built probably these towers. Probably Fan Ring was set up probably in the middle '60s. I was there in '70, so they're probably already done. But of course, there's always maintenance to do, and that was one of my jobs, just like working on keeping the towers up. And other jobs I had in mind was I drove a deuce and a half. There's a deuce and a half truck right there. That's me right there with a deuce and a half truck. And I did some maintainer work too, but I don't think I have a picture of that. And we lived in barracks with, as you can see, sandbags around the sides. These are fatigue clothes on the wall here. That's the guy's clothes. That's laundry day. They put the clothes out on the sandbags, and each of us had a couple Vietnamese civilians. I don't know if I could show you one of them. There's more pictures of the base. Okay, I want to find a picture of my maid that I had over there. This is another picture of our barracks, and we all had we had one roommate in our barracks, and we're kind of relaxing there, get some sun. We had shows. We had a theater over here, and then this a couple more of my friends. I drove that for a while. This is a town of, I think it might have been Vietnamese police. They were the South Vietnamese guy. And this is the town of Phan Rang right here. Just kind of cattle along the road. And this is old Charlie hauling trash. And actually, the Vietcong, they used to come in, try to come in through our, infiltrate our base. A lot of times we call them Charlies. They were called Vietcong, but we'd call them Charlie coming through and this and that. So they were also called Charlie. That was another name that kind of was given to them. And this is kind of different things I did over there. We built a patio over there. And there's being, they had different names for different guard towers. This is Golf 10. This would be right over there with that. And this is shops in Phan Rang. And I did have a Christmas tree. This is December 1970. Christmas tree. And there's lots and lots of motorcycles over there.
Yeah.
And the roads were really ruddy and bumpy, and the civilians drove a lot. And I think probably now it probably doesn't look much different 50 years later. And everything's kind of probably the same, or all the villages in Vietnam, they probably never changed a bit. This is a typical house in Phan Rang. It was just kind of shacky, the street in Phan Rang. Okay, this is what I was talking about the other day. One of the big things what made an impression, it may be a question later, was going down to the orphanages. There's the kids right there. We made several trips downtown to the orphanages, and of course a lot of them were probably half American because they were, fathers were GIs, and they didn't have any family at all. And then there's some of the guys I were with, and there's another picture of our barracks. There's a desk we had, and we had to count a few shells, and then each one of us had a little desk we could write letters. And I did write letters every day to my wife and my folks when I was over there. So that's and we sent a lot of tapes. I didn't bring a tape with me, but I will maybe Monday, or when we just put our display table up. I'll get this book. On this album, yes, just more pictures. Okay, there's some. This anti-personnel. They had quite a few over there. I didn't ride one of these, but they were something the Army had a lot of. These are anti-personnel, and they still use these in like in Iraq and the modern war. This is how hauling grain with oxen back over there. And this is a short time. When people got close to being out, we always had what they call a short timers party. We'd have steaks and stuff, and and everybody X'd off. When you started over there, you X'd off the calendar, day by day. So every day got a little shorter. Everybody X'd off their days. Another picture, another one of my guys over there. I think he was a civilian that kind of worked with me. And then there's kind of one of he was a sergeant. He was kind of with me, and he was kind of my boss. This kid right there, and there's me right there. We didn't, because I told people when we was off base, we never wore shirts. When we got on base, we had to put our shirts on. But when we was off base, we always working outside the base. We never wore shirts. It was hot. It's probably 95 degrees, high humidity. And these are the fighter jets, so these are F4s. And this is a deuce and a half. I like to call it a deuce and a half. More and more of my guys I worked with. This was Australia. There were a lot of Australians over there too helping us. There's an Australian jet. There's a C-123 cargo plane. That's the plane I flew over there from Cameron Bay. Okay. And these are black and white. And actually, I think I had 2 cameras. I had some black and white pictures. They had a photo processing where you could go in this building and develop your own photos. And I did quite a bit of that too myself. I developed my own Here's what they call the CSC, that's where kinda like a motor pool, where all the Jeeps was and stuff.
Yeah.
Here's some more kids, the orphanage, this is downtown Van Ryn. And, here we was out working, setting up a tower right there. Taking sandbags off the deuce and a half when we were building a guard tower. I think and here we were just walking along, I don't know what we were doing, but we're putting up concertina wire when we were walking along, just outside the base. And this other one we were walking. I think we had to clear brush away. You didn't want to have brush close to the wire because that was cover. So we had to go out and cut brush. We did that part of our jobs. I was a little bit smaller than by your age then. I was 22 years old, and I was actually one of the older guys, because most guys over there were 19, 20, 21. I was 20. Actually, I was 22, going on 23. And I was one of the. You called me an old man. I was just 22. There's the minimum guard tower. A couple kids over there, and there's me again. And here was out. We was kind of having a little fun that day. We was out in the river. It was, well, we had. It was serious, but we had fun.
Yeah.
We had fun.
Sometimes you have to.
You gotta have fun and we had fun. And there were some scary times. I'll kind of show you. I never had to shoot anybody, or I never got shot at, but I was trained to do it. It just never happened. But we did get hit a lot. We did get hit a lot with rockets and mortars. I didn't have anything close to me, which I was lucky, but I did have a little ledger I kept here. And this is all that stuff. April 1st, we had a mortar attack, 10 mortars on base, perimeter. And that was on April 1st. Usually about once a week, and bam, it just, you could hear this loud boom, you were hoping you wasn't too close to it. But most of the time, they try to shoot for the flight line, because they wanted to do away with some airplanes. So they usually didn't shoot rockets to the barracks area or the guys where they tried to aim for the airplanes. They wanted to get the airplane. On April 5th, we had 107 rocket. April 7th, 2 days later, we had a mortar attack. So whenever you were out and about walking around, you always made sure you had some place to run to.
Yeah.
In case a dude started coming over at you, you wanted a bunker. And there were bunkers, different bunkers around the base where you could, you watch on TV where the guys dive in the bunkers. And so we had that. April 19th, we had a rocket attack. On April 20th, April was not good. And injured a couple guys on April 20th. May 3rd, we had a mortar attack. 6 rockets on base. May 3rd, we had another one. May 6th, we had another one. So, and then May 7th, we had another one. May 3rd, Memorial Day, we had a rocket. June was a little bit better. July, we had a bunch. And then July 21st, 1970 was a bad one, because we had 2 guys got killed. They were I don't know, they were just going into the library or something, and just had to be in the wrong place at the wrong time. August 22nd, the rocket attack. And then I think after about November, we didn't have too much. I got November 6th was one rocket attack too, and then after November 7th, and I was there over there until March, and it seemed like it really slowed down after that. We didn't have too many, which was good, because I was getting it short anyway. And I went over to R&R. I don't have that book, but I went over to see the wife in Hawaii in November. I think it was November. We have 6 days in Hawaii. She met me over there, November 20th to November 26th. So we was over there for a week. So that was good. And then I do have some pictures of that, but I don't have that album with me. But I'm going to take that and got it in. I'm going to have that later. I was single and wasn't married, and then it keeps on with this whole personal file, and that's the one when I was at Offutt. Okay, the Lackland Air Force Base. I was 3628 Squadron in Lackland Air Force Base. That's where I was, and then I was there, of course, for basic training, and then tech school for security police. I was there for till February. What was it? March 14th, 1969. That was there that long. And then there's some more stuff about Lackland. And then I went to, I was assigned to 810 Strat Aerospace Division in Minot, North Dakota. That would have been, because I talked about it a little bit earlier, that was SAC. And after that, I actually was SAC for a while, then I went over to course in Vietnam. That was not SAC, it was 5th Security Division, I think it was, over there. But this is while I was still at Lackland, and then this other kind of uniform and stuff filled out. These are the different guys that were with me in Minot. Okay.
These guys that's you.
That's
like
me.
This guy's from Giltner.
And yeah, actually I was from Giltner at that time, and actually my name's on the wall here at the square.
Yeah.
Too. And my name's up there.
Really?
Mm-hmm. So you can find me sometime.
That's good.
I'm on the wall. And then it's different. Okay. Curry Termination Statement. Let's see. High School, Hamilton County, 18 Hamilton County. And see, I had a serial number for a while. They didn't change the Social Security number until I was in the service about a little, maybe 6 months or so. But actually, I had a serial number, and I had a dog tag. But I don't think I had a dog tag, but I can't seem to find it. But even my serial number is 680544302, and I won't tell you my Social Security number because that's confidential.
That's a good thing.
That's confidential, but I got it. But we had serial numbers for a while, and they put them on our hats and caps and everything.
The whole thing?
But on the back of our caps, we had their serial number, like a blast form and stuff. So it was it wasn't real secure like it is now. Like now we want to keep tight our Social Security number. And I was airman first class when I went over from Minot to Vietnam, but when I come back to Vietnam, I was made sergeant. So I'm back, and when you're overseas, you usually gain rank fast if you're in a war zone.
Mm-hmm.
So if I would have stayed in country, I probably never would have made sergeant even. But I did make sergeant, and actually before I got out, I just barely made staff sergeant. So I could get all my moving done when I got out December 11th, 1972. They paid for my moving back to Aurora. And then, okay, this is kind of the things that they'd write up for you. Like this is our Penrang Air Base, and this was the 1st of January of 70 to the 30th of June. So this is my 6 months I was over there. And then it said I was Force Maximum Protection for the U.S. Air Force, priority resources within this area responsible. Perform duties of entry controller to restricted areas. Member of the security alert team whose duties require immediate response to areas clandestine or hostile action against the base. So we're always ready to protect the base. And this is kind of my grades I got. And then that's how you were evaluated. Okay. There's another one of the guys who were above me, and I think that this might have been, actually in Vietnam I was in the 35th Security Police Squadron over there, and I went back to, of course, Minot, and there's another one, Penrang Air Base. There's PACAP, they call it PACAP. It wasn't SAC, it was PACAP. Okay, my jobs over there: repair bunkers, fence line, guard towers, and ensures that physical security barriers around the base perimeter were in constant repair. Performs additional duties as escort, which I did, and responds immediately to all emergency situations at Penrang Air Base. So that was kind of what my job description was there. And I got out, of course, and when I was in Offutt, I worked in armory, and I handed out weapons to the guys that were on, and I did a little bit of guard duty in Offutt, but not a lot. I mainly worked in the armory and issued out weapons, but I did get to see the planes that fly around up there, and what they're now I can't see think of the official names of the airplanes that go around all the time monitoring training, and they can set off, missiles if they have to, because they're a complete connection with the president. The president says do something, they're ready to go. But I was in combat areas. But so I might say I did, but I didn't. I didn't have to shoot anybody, or didn't get shot at, but I did get blasted. We did get blasted away with mortars, and so in a way it was.
So tell me about the chaos, the blasting.
Yeah, because it was scary. Yeah, the blasting. Yeah, and you sounded like a sonic boom when them rockets come over. So you were ready to head for cover. And also we had to lock and load and go out a couple of times, but usually they didn't send us out. But we did once, I think 1 or 2 times we had to go to the perimeter, and if they were suspecting somebody that's going to try to come in and infiltrate the base, so we did do that a couple of times.
What did you believe at the time was at stake in the war? What did you think you were fighting for?
Well, I guess fighting for our freedom, because the North Vietnam was trying to take over South Vietnam, and it was we're fighting for our freedom for the communists, but eventually they did take over South Vietnam. But I don't know if I really felt, there's a lot of people at that time period didn't think the war was necessary, and maybe that was right, but I was willing to serve my country at the time, and I wasn't going to defect or shirk my duty. No.
How did you feel about the enemy that you were fighting, and how do you feel about them now?
No, I suppose they were just doing the same thing we are. They were being told what to do, and they probably weren't any different than any American soldiers at that time. I think they probably were very much younger than American soldiers. They probably were 13, 14, 15-year-old kids out there giving weapons to. It was a jungle warfare at that time, where they wanted brush and everything for their cover, and they're a little different than the Iraq War, where they could be anywhere. More jungle then. So I think that the Iraq War may have been a little more dangerous for people that were on bases, because they could be, these bombs could be anywhere, and then they were on bases. So it wasn't quite that way then. They had mortars and rockets, but it wasn't everywhere, where there was these suicide people, the suicide people that might have bombs planted on them, like they do now. So it was a little different war.
Did you write home often?
Yes, every day. Yeah.
Did you describe what you were actually experiencing in your letters?
No, I did not. No, I didn't tell them how many rocket attacks I had or anything like that. No, I just kept that in my little ledger. Yeah.
What reminds you most of home when you were overseas?
Well, probably most of home would be the radio. We had a modern radio station, the modern music, and I suppose that was modern. And we also got, my folks. It would take about a week. Sometimes my folks we'd have cookies come over, and sometimes they weren't very good, but we had cookies and different things that they'd send over to us, brought us this home, and pictures of what they were doing, at home. And we would, Nebraska football was big, and they were winning big time. 70 and 71, we were national champions. Nebraska was national champs, so that was big. And also that one Apollo 13 just about didn't make it. That when I was over there, they made it back because my mom would was real interested in that, and she said, "Them boys," I didn't think I knew it until they was actually back again. Well, Apollo 13, didn't expect them guys to come back, but they made it back. I think that was in 70 or 71, Apollo 13. That was big memories from here. And when you was over there, you got to appreciate the United States big time. We take the United States for granted. And when you're over there, when you're overseas, man, you just can't believe how much you appreciate our freedom and what we have here. You don't have that over there.
Yeah.
No. You go out in the villages. You went out in the villages, and there were no bathrooms to go to or nothing like that. Man, the people out taking baths in the river and everywhere, doing their personal business everywhere they had to, and there was no bathrooms. No, so no, it was, and you could the villages, they smelled. The sanitation was not good. No. So you just appreciate Americans so much. Yeah. And they really, the Southlandese, I think they really appreciate us being over there. But of course, you didn't know when you were off base whether they were North Vietnamese and in these people, and that's why a lot of these guys that were that got in trouble at that time period for killing village people, because they didn't know whether they were Viet Cong or South Vietnamese. They were close to the DMZ line, and I was a little further away, Pan Ring. Now this is where I was. I think I got another map. This is Cameron Bay. Pan Ring was right there. Mm-hmm. And up here was the DMZ, because we always a little further south. And further north you got.
And how
Hunter
far
got.
from here?
Okay, that was probably maybe at the most, maybe 100, 150 miles.
So that's not that
It wasn't
far.
very far. But it wasn't that far. Because I went also to, before I went to R&R, I think I processed, I was in Saigon, but I didn't go any further. I didn't go up to Da Nang. Da Nang was almost up here. And I think Huey's real close to the, well, you might even have a map in your history where the DMZ line was, and that's where it was more. Back in 1968 in Tet Offensive, it was everywhere. Mm-hmm. Everywhere. They had a route they took, the Viet Cong all the way down. That they come down here and they infiltrated the villages with bombs and mortars and rockets, so they could hit all these bases, and they did. They hit a lot of bases back then. But of course, it was a long war, and they did a lot of Agent Orange things to get with the B-52s and things. They did a lot of bombing with the B-52s, a lot, but it didn't seem like it didn't end the war. And like I said before, a lot of the war went on for how many years was it? Started about 62 and turned to 72, like around 10 years. Mm-hmm. And wars are big economy boosters. Like the United States, a lot of people made money, maybe, and it wasn't right, but a lot of people like war because it's all about money, and the economy always goes a lot better when there's war. But there's, I think, a sacrifice of 58,000 American young guys had to pay for it at the time. It was good. So, while we had on questions, okay.
What do you think people today should know about what you went through? And what do we need to remember about your war?
Okay, well, I think we need to remember about the sacrifice these guys did make, even though they didn't get appreciated. I know it's really, lately we've been appreciated a lot. The Vietnam guys, we didn't then, and we went through. I didn't go through as near as bad as a lot that the guys in the Marines and the Army. They were out there in the actual. But I did, I didn't have to do what I didn't really want to do at that time period. Guys back home were escalating in their jobs and had families and everything, and I was over there kind of I should say, wasn't a wasted year because of, you know, we were all fighting for our freedom. But I think people should know, and they should know that these things that we were doing, you're doing here, the information that you can get from what we did back then, and is very important. How this country's evolved. And of course, a lot of things happened back in the early '60s and late '60s when President Kennedy was killed, and also a lot of things going on in the '60s, a lot of turmoil. So it was an important time, and I think it might be more now that it's getting out there than what people did and what the soldiers did at that time. So.
Tell me about a couple of your most memorable experiences.
Okay, I would say, of course, memorable experiences was, I told you before, with going to the orphanage and visiting them, and convoys over to Cameron Bay, and everything else was probably kind of just like when you go to school, everything's the same day out. You don't remember things except for the times that really spell out to you or visualize out. Going to the orphanages, and of course going to R&R in November was a big thing, and processing out. And we stopped at Guam for a little bit. We went over I went over to Honolulu to meet the wife, and so that was big. But at the Guam base for a couple hours. I stopped at Japan a little while, so I did get to see a little of Japan. I did get to stop at Alaska too on the way over. So I kind of memorial experiences I had, and of course the ride over and the ride back. And okay, what were you awarded? Were you awarded any medals? Or yes, I was. I did have some accommodation medals. I don't have them with me, but I'm going to have them on my table. I got some sharpshooter medals that I got, or it probably was. I think we had to qualify 60 out of 100 rounds. I did get that. I did qualify, and I got my card in my personal file.
How did you get promoted?
How did you get promoted? By doing good work. I got good work, and then doing what I was told, and doing the best job I could at the time.
What was your highest rank you achieved?
Be a staff sergeant just before I got out.
How do you stay in touch with your family?
Okay, I didn't bring a tape with me either, but we had cassette tapes, and we also, of course, I wrote letters, and we also could go get on the what they call, I couldn't think of the other, it was ham radio.
Ham radio. Oh,
Yep.
yeah.
That's what it wasn't. We couldn't. It wasn't like now where you could just get on your phone and talk to your parents or your wife. No, and then you had to say your speech, and they had to say. You say over, and then they talk, and you talk to some ham radio guy in California or New York, and they call your folks, and that's how we got. We had music. Music was big. We played cards a lot. Everybody had. You probably don't even know what they are. We had real. Everybody had real music. We put the tape on his reels, and then really good. There wasn't. They were just starting to have cassette recorders in, because that's what I talked to them, and my wife, my folks, well, you made a little cassette, and you talked on it. They just started having that then. So I think I might still have mine, but I don't think I do. But I'll bring a tape on my table, one of my tapes that I talked on. And that's how do you do it. And also, what else did we do for entertainment? We did movies. They had movie theater on base. Went to movies a lot, played cards. Many just talked a lot among the guys. Some guys there was shift work, but you usually stayed in a barracks where the guys, what you did, they did. So if you were a night person, then you stayed in barracks where you could sleep during the day because you had to work at night. So, and then we also had people that. The dog people that went around perimeter with the dogs, they had a separate barracks of their own too. And according, we always stayed with there was also the officers part of the base, and there was enlisted people. So you didn't really mix with the officers too much. They had their own officers' quarters, and we had ours. So they had it's kind of separated that way. And once they did have before mine, the year before I was there, they had Bob Hope come. They did have a big area where they had, they gave concerts and stuff in case they come to the base. So Bob Hope was there, but it wasn't the year before I was there. I didn't get to see him, but he would have been good to see. But he entertained the troops a lot during the Vietnam. Bob Hope did. He was really, really good at that.
What did you do when on leave?
Okay. Oh, when we went to Hawaii, went to Hawaii and I met my wife on 1 week in November, and spent a good week there. And of course, after I got back from Vietnam, I think I had a whole month coming. Usually, you had it when you was in the Air Force, you had 30 days a year. So I had, of course, when I was off it, my wife and I just took some trips when I was on leave. But whatever you wanted to, A lot of guys, when the guys that weren't married, they went to Japan or Australia. Single guys did on their R&R.
Do you recall any particular humorous or unusual events?
Humorous? Well, probably we did have unusual event. We had getting short parties that we always used to have a pretty good time at. Unusual events. That's probably about it. Nothing that was not out of the ordinary that happened.
Do you have photographs from the time in your service? And
I have plenty of them.
Plenty. Which
yes.
is a good thing.
Yeah, I have a lot of photographs. Yep, I do.
Who were the people in your photographs? And you had.
I got quite a few names. I tried to get a hold of some of these guys. There's a lot of names on my photographs. Jules Handcart was one of my guys I went over with, came home with, and I tried to get a hold of him, but I haven't. He was my roommate for a while. Then I had a Robert Stilwell, was one of my people here. I put several names in here that I wish I could get a hold of, but I can't seem to. We were real good friends and really close for a year, and when you leave, you never see them again. That's not good. I think Mike Barron's, he talked the other day. He's kept up with some of his buddies, and they get together every year, and that's good. You could do that. So.
Do you make any close friendships while in the service?
I did, but I didn't keep them up, but I did. I wished I would have.
Do you keep a personal diary?
I did write. Of course, I wrote in this little lecture, but I think I did write most of the time when my diary was my letters home. I didn't write the bad things down, but I did write down what I did about every day in my letters home. My wife's got a whole bunch of letters and home, so it was kind of my diary. It was my letters home.
Do you recall the day your service ended?
Oh yeah, I stayed up all night that night, and then I think I did have a short timers party too, and we celebrated. And I don't probably went out for a steak. Usually, you'll go out for a steak and somebody will buy you a steak, whatever, a short timers party, and open up. You kind of stayed close to your barracks on your last day. You didn't want to get a chance to get blown away with a rocket or a mortar on your last day, so you kind of stayed close to the end. You didn't walk around a whole lot, so you didn't want to take any chances. And then you're looking forward to getting on the. It was kind of dangerous flying to Cameron Bay, because a few times that the planes went down. We had to go over a mountain to get to Cameron Bay, and one time one of them did go down, so that wasn't good. So you was glad when you got on the Big Bird, and it took about 20 hours or so when you got on the Big Bird and Cameron to come home. So yeah, I kind of recall I think I kind of went around and I talked to the people that I've worked with and told them goodbye and stuff. But it was a good day.
And you stayed up so you could sleep on the plane?
Yes, I stayed up so I could sleep on the plane. Yeah.
Where were you?
After?
Yeah.
After I went to Offutt, then I took a 3 days leave, and then I went to Offutt for a year and a half, force base, and SAC, which was good duty. I enjoyed it.